We wanted to make this film to show an example of how schools supported a child with Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus. And this is the story of Andrew and all that the school's done to help support him and what a difference that's made and how well he's doing now.
My mum normally takes me up, and then I go from the car to the door that I go in by myself. So when the bell rings, everybody lines up, and then the teachers come out, and then take the kids into school. And then that means it's time to go into school and start the day.
I've known Andrew for just coming on to 2 years. I started at Dalespark 2 years ago at the end of November, and I think Andrew was one of the first meetings that I had. So if anything, I probably knew Andrew's mum and indeed some of the other support services around about Andrew really before I knew Andrew. But it was evident that there was a need there for Andrew to be met, and indeed there were a number of people that were working hard to meet those needs, and it was my role to coordinate that, I guess.
Spina bifida is one of the neural tube defects, so it's a fault in the spine that occurs right in the earliest stage of pregnancy. It literally means gap in the spine. The spina bifida has obviously affected the nerves to his lower limbs, and it affects the sensation as well, so how much he can feel sort of below the point, the gap in his spine. So as a younger child he needed splints on and did learn to walk using a frame and sticks, so he needed physiotherapy and he needed involvement from orthopaedics as well to keep an eye on that. So Andrew had various complications in the last couple of years which have meant that now he needs to use a wheelchair full time. And then as a wee baby he developed hydrocephalus as well and needed a shunt put in. What the hydrocephalus does is that affects him in more subtle ways, and that's where we like to work together with schools to talk about how it can affect learning and what things Andrew needs to help him process information. I
think with any need, regardless of physical or learning, they exist in different children and manifest in different ways. And ultimately you're looking at the need of the individual as opposed to whether it's a physical need or a learning need. It is ultimately just a need. It's a need that requires to be met.
The teachers that he's had all the way along and his assistants in school have been fantastic at just learning about him and how he processes information and what he needs, and have tried, I mean there's trial and error with things too, but they've tried lots of different things to find ways that work for him, and so he's now really able to thrive.
The school's considered an enhanced provision school, and I chair the Enhanced Provision Forum. So the guidance that's available on that is quite robust, making clear the links with additional support needs, additional support for learning. And as I say, that strapline really does clarify that we should be looking at the individual nature of the child, the need that they present and the support that should be provided for them. There aren't lots of generic supports that would simply be applied to children in the hope that it will work.
So this one was for working really hard in maths, and then this one was for representing our school so well on our academy visit, and then this one was for being more independent, and this was for beating my teacher 2 years ago in a race.
The difference that's made by the school having such a can-do attitude, it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges and that things don't come up, that it's like, well, we haven't done this before, how are we going to get around it? But their attitude is so much, right, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we tackle this? We'll find a way around it. And also involving Andrew in that, so that he's learning to problem solve, because there will be, you know, things that he'll come across in life as he's going along that he has to find his way around or find a new way of doing something or a different way of doing things. And all of the staff here are on board with that and encourage him and have that can-do attitude and have that belief in him that yes, we'll find a way to do this.
Physically for Andrew, There are bits and pieces that have to be maintained in the school. There are things that we need to consider along with occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and we take their contributions in terms of what's working, what needs to change. Andrew's recently had a standing chair delivered. I haven't seen it in use yet. I haven't had any training around about it yet, but I know the ladies on the physio team are keen to do that. Support-wise beyond that, the biggest achievement has probably been seeing Andrew go to the residential trip last year, which despite some moments of reluctance and I think self-doubt on his part, we got him over the line, we got him onto that bus. He went on the bus and he had probably the best 4 days he's had at primary school.
I wasn't sure at first about it, but my mum and Mr. Anderson talked about it, and then I went to Lagavia, a residential outdoor weekend with a small group of children.
You comfy? Right, over to you. Now it's your turn. You want to pull or do you want us to do it for you?
You can do it, Andrew.
Yeah, we saw Louis.
Yes!
Woo! Yay! Yeah, that's it. Amazing.
Here we go!
He got to try all the activities in a small group, so it wasn't too intense, and then he managed to go on his school trip and had an absolute blast.
I went canoeing and I was tree climbing, tree climbing as well.
And his mum went along, kept very much in the background, but was there for his personal care. But then it went so well, and the confidence he's developed, he's now wanting to go to next year's school trip without his mum, which is a huge step forward for him and a great achievement.
Well, my mum helped me get into like a harness thing, and then there was a wee bit bar at the front of me, and then I just pulled that like that, and then it pushed me up the tree, and I got to the very top of the tree. I was a wee bit nervous, but I did it. I was very proud of myself.
I mean, one of the things that can be obviously very difficult at different stages of emotional development is coming to terms with being different and not to deny that there is difference in the way that they have to do things. So for Andrew, having to move towards be the only one in a wheelchair, and what Mr. Anderson did was to get Go Kids Go, which is a national organisation that do wheelchair skills courses across the country, got them to come to the school, and all of the children in the class got to go in a wheelchair. He brings this big van load of wheelchairs, and Andrew spoke afterwards and said, you know, it was just great, everybody was the same as me, everybody got to have a go. And that just gave him a huge boost.
Go Kids Go visit was probably the best thing in the school that Andrew's been able to participate in. I was well aware, having taught PE with all the classes when I first started at the school, that he wants to be involved in everything. He was playing rugby with me, for example, when he was in his walking frame. He continued playing rugby when he was in his chair. There wasn't an issue behind that at all. But there was a little bit of a lack of understanding possibly about what it would be like to be in a chair. So about a year ago now, the week before the October break, we had them in for a full morning. We had 4 year groups go through for 45-minute sessions in the wheelchairs and the different equipment that was brought in. And for Andrew, it was his opportunity to show other people how to do it.
Well, they let everybody have a go in a wheelchair, and then they get to see how it feels to be in a wheelchair. I really like that they let everybody have a go in a wheelchair, because they didn't know how it was to be in a wheelchair before, and haven't had to go in a wheelchair before.
He was the main man, he was a teacher, he was a coach. He was in a position that he could give people advice as to what to do to balance themselves, to stop themselves, to turn quickly. And I think there was a newfound respect from some of his peer group that day, right across the school, and staff included, as to just the difficulties that you might find when you're first in a chair. And Andrew, well, he was the duck to water.
Playtime, playtimes can be difficult for Hydrocephalus because there's an unstructured time. and so those dynamics in the playground, but having a role and being, you know, an important person at the tuck shop just gave him, that was one of the things that just gave him a real boost and something that he knew how to do.
The job that Andrew's been given to do boosts his confidence. Andrew has the same opportunities as all the children. There is no reason why any physical need should be a barrier, but he absolutely adores the tuck shop, because I think for Andrew it gives him that opportunity to interact with all other children, but in a position of authority, with leadership, and he's absolutely loved doing it.
We go all around the school, and then if someone hasn't brought in a snack for break time, then they come to us and then buy something and then pay for it, and then they just go back to the class. I learned my money, which was very important.
He's very keen to ensure it runs smoothly, and I think he's really taken to that as a role for him. It's more than just a task, you know, that some of the children might see it as, but he sees the value in interacting with the kids from primary 1 right through to his own class now in primary 7.
Another thing that's been done so well here at the school is that Andrew's had an extended transition, just recognising that particularly with hydrocephalus, change is particularly difficult. So change to routine needs a lot more preparation, as in with memory as well, trying to remember things and remember what's going to happen in a new situation. It can be quite intimidating for a child with hydrocephalus, and so the school here has been really proactive in working with the secondary schools, the academy, and he started his transition way back at the beginning of P6, and he's already, you know, learning that he'll be able to have a walkie-talkie there so that he can be in touch with the person that can help with his personal care, so he's not having to shout out in class. There's all these very practical things being put in place for him and giving him confidence about that transition, and doing projects, going up to the school at the academy, doing a visit and coming back, and talking to the other kids about what's going to happen at academy. So lots of preparation time and extended preparation time.
It doesn't matter whether there's 2 children in the school or 200. You are charged with the responsibility of making them develop and grow, regardless of need, regardless of the obvious nature of a need. You have that responsibility, so you have to find a way, you have to have that perseverance, and you will feel the rewards when you start to see the rewards being enjoyed by the child and indeed by their family, because if that's your motivation, then there's your reward.
So this has been the story of one child's journey of support. If anyone would like any further information or support, please get in touch with us at Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus Scotland, and we'd be very happy to help.
I don't see it as necessarily having been the school that have done a lot, and I certainly don't see it as being someone like me having done a lot. Andrew and his mum have wanted very few things from the school. All they've asked for is that someone gives him a chance, and he's had it.